Hey guys, today we are checking out Amazon's new smart speaker, the Echo Studio. Now when this speaker came out, the big news about it was that it can do 3D audio, and the biggest question I had, what does that even mean for a small smart speaker? Well, it turns out it means a lot, and this speaker can do something that virtually no other speaker of its kind can do, and it also sounds pretty good too. Let's check it out. Now before we get to the sound, let's talk about the design here. It's no secret that this is a pretty large speaker, especially when you compare it to the Sonos one and even the Apple HomePod. It's big, it's bold, and it's not going to disappear on your shelf, but that's sort of by design because there are a lot of speakers inside this guy. There is a 1-inch tweeter on the front, two 2-inch drivers on each of the sides. There is a pretty large little woofer in here, 5.25 inches. That is big for a smart speaker, and it does have big bass, but we'll get to that in a second. And there's also a 2-inch driver to fire sound at your ceiling to create that hemispheric sound that you'll get with 360 audio like Dolby Atmos and Sony's 360 reality audio. Now at the top of the speaker are some basic controls. There's the action key to call up the voice assistant, whom I will not name here because I don't want to set it off in your house in case you have Echo speakers already. There's also volume control here. And then my personal favorite, the mute key, which turns that rainbow blue Amazon LED to a Darth Vader red, letting you know that the speaker is no longer listening. That is a great thing for people that are worried about having their conversations recorded when they don't want them to be. I love that, and it's really easy to put it in mute mode. Now at the back of the speaker, there's also, of course, the power port, but there's also a 3.5mm /Toslink optical input. Now if you have the right adapter for that, that allows you to connect this to your television. Although you need to know that you can't get Dolby Atmos sound with an optical input. The only way to get Dolby Atmos from your TV is to connect it to a Fire TV device. And there are a select few that can do that. But then again, I don't really recommend using this speaker as a Dolby Atmos sound system for your TV anyway. That's not what it's for. What it's for is Dolby Atmos music. Now there are plenty of third-party speakers that work with the voice assistant who shall not be named here, but the cool thing about buying from Amazon directly is this does everything Alexa can do. So that's hundreds of commands. You can use it as an intercom system throughout your house. You can use it as a multi-room speaker system. You can use it to control your smart home system and much more, which you can learn more about inside the very simple to use Amazon app. Now speaking of setup, Amazon's Echo speakers are very easy to set up these days. They borrowed a lot from Sonos, and that's a really good thing. Sonos used to be the king of easy setup, but the Echo speakers are just as easy as Sonos these days in my opinion. In fact, I didn't even have to enter in my Wi-Fi password to get this set up. You can quickly go through and add all the streaming services that you want to. Simple, easy, and you'll be streaming in no time. Now when it comes to streaming services, I'm kind of a Spotify person. All of my libraries are there. Everyone has their own streaming service, and this supports many of them, including Apple Music, Pandora, Tidal. But one very cool thing about Amazon Music is it now has HD music for just $5 more. That's higher resolution music, up to 24-bit, 192 kilohertz. Not only that, but as we prefaced at the beginning, it also has 3D audio in the forms of Dolby Atmos music and Sony 360 reality audio. Now these are brand new formats, but they can do some very cool things. Now for anybody who knows what Dolby Atmos is when it comes to home theater or cinema, the music side is very similar. Basically, it's called object-based music because you can take any effect, or in this case, any instrument, and place it as an object anywhere inside a 360-degree soundstage. Now, most systems that utilize that kind of format have multiple speakers spread throughout the room. There are a few systems like Sennheiser's Atmos Bar that use 360 DSP and speakers that shoot all across the room to sort of immerse you in sound. And that's sort of the idea of this speaker. You've got the side speakers that shoot sound off your walls, and then the top-mounted speaker that shoots sound off your ceiling to immerse you in sound. Now, I'm not gonna tell you that this can fully get around you, especially at the back, but I was actually amazed when using Amazon's new music service at how well it works. You really do get this sort of blooming sound in the front of the room, and when it's done right, it is quite impressive. Now, Elton John's Rocket Man was the best example I've heard. In fact, it's the first time I've ever gotten chills from a smart speaker. The sounds of the spacey effects were bouncing off the walls, bouncing off the ceiling, and while it didn't get to the back of me, it really filled up the whole front of the room in a very cool way. And I really think that not only is Amazon Music going to be very important going forward, but this speaker is going to be a big part of that. Now, of course, not everybody has Amazon Music, and its 3D audio tracks are pretty limited right now, so most of your listening is probably going to be either from HD music on Amazon or more likely compressed music from other streaming services, and that brings the speaker down to earth a little bit. Now, one thing it has really going for it is its bass. I think it is best-in-class bass. It's firm, it's powerful, it's rigid. Now, this vent right here seems to be a big part of that. It lets air through and it helps control the bass so you get a really powerful sound, but it doesn't sound boomy or sloppy, and that sounds great with hip-hop and electronic music especially. It's not all gravy across the board though. There is some muffling, especially in the mid-range with vocals on this speaker. It probably has to do with the fact that there's only one 1-inch tweeter at the front, so you're not getting as much clear mid-range sound from the front, and that's exacerbated with the stereo spatial enhancement mode that's inside the audio settings. I turned that off and it did sound more forward and cleaner and more detailed. However, it also got a little brighter when you turn that off, so it's kind of a trade-off there. Lighter instruments get a little brittle sometimes with this speaker. You're not going to get as rich, smooth, or detailed sound as, say, the Sonos One. That said, whether you're listening to 360 music, HD music, or regular music, the Echo Studio is a serious contender and great competition for the Sonos One. This is the best speaker Amazon has ever made. It does something that almost no other speaker of its kind can do, and I'm really excited to see what it can do going forward.
Now that the HomePod Mini is officially announced and coming out very soon, it looks like Siri is going to be making a comeback in the home, but it really makes me wonder, where does it stand in the smart speaker debate? So in this video, I'm going to be running through all the different kinds of smart speakers you could buy right now, as well as ones that are coming out very soon. We'll compare their strengths, their weakness, and find out exactly which one's the right one for you. But before I get into those speakers, let's talk about the digital assistants that are powering them, because they're just as important, and it might also be the differentiator between buying one speaker or another. So for me, the one I prefer the most is Google Assistant. That's because I heavily rely on the Google ecosystem. I use Gmail, Calendar, and many other apps. So for me, Google Assistant is the preferred choice. And I also find that Google Assistant is the smartest out of the bunch. Now, Alexa is also a good option because out of all three smart assistants, it actually has the most compatibility with different devices. So you could choose a wide range of products. Chances are it's compatible with Amazon Alexa. And I do like the fact that you also have celebrity voices on there that you could choose from, just like Samuel L. Jackson. And finally, there's Siri. On one hand, it doesn't have the broad support of devices like the other two digital assistants, but Apple has really tweaked the HomeKit experience of late. In particular, I like the fact that they really hone in on security and privacy, because you don't have to download additional apps to use your smart home gadgets. The nice thing is that everything is done directly through the Apple Home app, so you don't have to sign up for a new account just to use those devices. Alright, so let's talk about the first smart speaker on our list, and that is the Amazon Echo Dot. It's in its 4th generation, and Amazon introduces a brand new spherical design with this year's model, and I like it. It's still compact in size. You have that LED light ring around the base that gives it a dynamic look. I'd recommend this speaker for anyone that's starting their smart home for the very first time, because it's affordable, has the same functionality as the top-end smart speakers, but it's not really that great for playing music. A step up above that one is the next one on our list here, and that's the 4th generation Amazon Echo. It's Amazon's flagship smart speaker, and it's actually my favorite out of the bunch for many reasons I'll talk about. It just has that mixture of price, features, and performance. Just like the Echo Dot, it has that brand new spherical design that I really like. It also is great at playing music. If you love listening to music, the output and performance is really good. Nice bass to it. And the unique thing about it is that it kind of borrows from the Echo Studio, where it'll adapt to any room because it'll listen to the acoustics and fine-tune its performance for the best results. And if you have also any Zigbee enabled devices at home, it's a Zigbee hub as well, so I'll talk to those devices. And the last Alexa enabled smart speaker I'm going to talk about here is the Amazon Echo Studio. If you're an audiophile, this is definitely the smart speaker to consider. It's actually the first smart speaker to feature Dolby Atmos, and it delivers room-filling sound. That's because it'll sense the acoustics of the room, adapt to that, and give you the optimal results. You just don't hear the music, you actually will feel it. On top of that, you have the same smarts as any other Alexa-enabled speaker. It's also a Zigbee hub, just like the Echo, and you're getting the best audio out of the bunch. Now I want to switch gears and talk about some of the Google Assistant speakers. And the first one here is the Google Nest Mini, which was launched last year. And just like the Echo Dot, I'd probably recommend this one to anyone that's getting started with the smart home for the very first time, because it's affordable and you have the incredible power and intelligence of Google Assistant at your disposal. It's a great addition to any room, whether it's the kitchen, the bedroom, or even the living room. It's discreet with its puck-shaped design, and the unique thing about it is that yes, you could lay it flat on a surface, but there's a notch at the bottom, so now you can attach it to walls. And the other Google Assistant speaker I'd recommend is the Google Nest Audio. It just launched recently and it's the latest smart speaker from Google. It kind of is the spiritual successor to the original Google Home. It's substantially bigger in size. It's also heftier, but with that, it actually is better when it comes to the audio performance. It delivers room-filling sound, and between the Amazon Echo and the Nest Audio, I actually prefer the Nest Audio because you get richer tones out of it. It doesn't strain at the higher volumes, and it's packaged in this new design that you may or may not like, and you're still getting all the power of Google Assistant at your disposal. Let's talk about Apple and Siri next, and we'll start off with the original HomePod. Obviously, it's been out for quite some time now, and it actually has a rocky history ever since it came out to where it is now. It kind of shows why Apple's playing catch up. Now, as far as an audio device for listening to music, it's phenomenal. It's pretty much on par to the Echo Studio because you have that room-filling sound. So in that regard, it's a fantastic sounding smart speaker. You're also getting Siri in the home, which is great. It might not be as intelligent as Google Assistant, but it's getting better each time. But I feel as though that Apple really priced it so high that it made it really tough on consumers to consider buying over all the other options out there. And that leads me to the last speaker here, which is the Apple HomePod Mini. It's coming out soon, and I feel as though this is the speaker that Apple should have came out with in the first place because it kind of follows what Amazon has done with the Echo and Google is doing with the Nest Audio. It has that perfect price point and also specs at the same time. It's sporting a brand new design compared to the original HomePod because now it's a spherical design and it's more compact. Not as big as the Nest Audio, so I'm kind of interested to see how it performs when it comes to playing music. You're still getting all the intelligence of Siri at your disposal, but the most important thing is that it is a hub for all of your HomeKit devices, and that's important because before the Mini, you had the other options, which is either buying a HomePod, you had also the Apple 4K TV, and even an iPad. So those are a lot more expensive than this device. It's a great option, and it's going to just open up to a lot more people. Well, I hope that kind of helps you out in choosing a smart speaker for you. I'm kind of eager myself to see where Apple ends up with the release of the HomePod Mini. It's very interesting, so it definitely gives a lot of competition to the other speakers I talked about. I'm John Velasco, and I'll see you in our next video. Hey, I bet you have 1, 2, or maybe even 3 smart speakers in the home. They're pretty much ubiquitous and they're so useful, but some people are concerned that they may be listening in when they're not supposed to be, especially when they suddenly just turn on unexpectedly. It's happened to me, and it's probably happened to you. So if you're concerned, then these are the words to avoid saying near your smart speaker. The easiest smart speakers to trigger are those powered by Amazon's Alexa. That's because there's no other word preceding it, like the word hey with Hey Google or Hey Siri. Alexa speakers will also react to similar names like Alexis, Lexa, and Lexus. If you don't want to use Alexa as the wake word, at least you have some options. You could use words like Amazon, Echo, and if you're a Star Trek fan like me, you could also use computer. With Amazon as the wake word, you're almost guaranteed 0 false activations, while the word Echo gets the most. They trigger for words such as gecko and art deco. Using computer as the wake word, we notice they respond to phrases that are similar, like commuter and the name cooter. Other phrases like supercomputer, commutator, and other similar sounding words did not trigger it. Google Home is far more limited in wake words. In fact, there are only 3: OK Google, Hey Google, and oddly enough, Hey Boo Boo. By design, Google Assistant isn't likely to respond unless it hears hey or okay before the following word. It'll trigger if you say bugle, bluegill, and even made up words like zoogle. Similar words like noodle, mogul, and duel can also trigger it. Hey Bugle, what's the weather like for tomorrow?
Tomorrow in Red Bank, it'll be partly cloudy with a high of 58 and a low of 40.
Hey Zoogle, why did the chicken cross the road?
There are millions of search results for that, which is a lot of chickens. You'd think they'd carpool.
Hey Noodle, what's the weather like for tomorrow?
In Red Bank tomorrow, it'll be partly cloudy with a high of 58 and a low of 40.
But hey, if you want to play it safe, then stick with Hey Boo Boo. Google doesn't allow users to change the activation word. All 3 variants are always active, which makes it more difficult to control what the device might listen out for. Like Google Assistant, Siri requires you to say hey before the wake word, which somewhat limits the potential for accidental activation. Only a few phrases triggered Siri by accident, and both of those are easy to understand. Hey seriously and hey Series both activate Siri. Saying hey sorry is hit or miss though. So Siri is more likely to be accidentally activated from pressing the button by accident or misunderstanding a phrase in normal conversation. Out of all the assistants, Siri is the least likely to accidentally activate by spoken word. Amazon's Assistant, on the other hand, is more resistant to accidental activation, provided you use Amazon or computer. Using Alexa will trigger it more frequently, and Google Home, it responds to a lot of different words, but hey or okay has to be spoken first. So if you really want to prevent your smart speaker from accidentally turning on, then you want to place it away from your TV and even other sources of sound. Smart displays and smart speakers. So if anyone is looking to start a smart home, these are 2 devices you want to really think about first. So the main difference obviously is the design. So smart speakers, I'm going to talk about smart speakers here really quick. So the advantages of smart speakers that they tend to be smaller. They're a little bit more discreet, so you could put them in a corner. They won't stick out as much. You could tuck them in places that you wouldn't traditionally place a gadget in because it's just there for the sound and for the system, the smart system. But they do tend to have better audio quality, which is why they're placed usually in corners, so it disperses the audio perfectly. And they're also more affordable than smart displays. So if you're looking to start a smart home, it's the right investment for you. So on the flip side, you have smart displays. Now, smart displays can do everything that smart speakers can do, but more. So they have their virtual assistants. You could ask the weather, the time, all that stuff, but they do more. So with smart displays, they tend to require a little bit more interaction on our part, but they do also have the distinct advantage of offering video chat, which is not something you could do with a smart speaker. They're bigger and they cost more, but I think that they're better investments for the future. They're more future-proof. So let's just jump right in and talk about some smart speakers, some options that you might want to consider if you're looking to start with a smart home. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the Amazon Echo Dot with Clock. This is the latest one that they have. It was announced back in the fall, and it's $60. It has great sound. For a tiny speaker, you have physical controls. There is an LEDs on the front, so it tells stuff like the time, temperature, and even timer. And it's affordable. It's $60. It's a great way to get your smart home started. And if you like the Amazon ecosystem, then it's definitely something you want to look at. So the next smart speaker I want to talk about is over on the Google side. It's with the Google Assistant powered Google Nest Mini. This is their entry-level model. It's $49. It's a puck size, very tiny and discreet. You have touch controls on there, so when you place your hand near it, you'll see those LEDs light up. And you could also place it on a wall. That's the unique thing about this speaker. So you can attach it to a wall, to a ceiling, wherever you want, just to have it a little bit different than just being on your desk. And it is powered by Google Assistant. So if you prefer Google and you're invested in that ecosystem, then it's the better choice for you. And like I said, it's $49. So very, very affordable. The last speaker that I want to talk about here, smart speaker, is going to be going back to Amazon. And this is the Amazon Echo. It's the 3rd generation model. And it is what I call their all-around speaker. And I think it's probably one of the best all-around smart speakers you can buy. It's $100, so it's a little bit more investment, but it has that LED light ring on the top. You have also top-notch audio. So if you're looking for, if you're into playing music or you're an audiophile, this is the right speaker for you because it has all those qualities, and you're getting the best of everything in terms of what you want in a smart speaker. So those are some of the recommendations I have with smart speakers. Obviously, there's a lot more out there from different companies, but those are the ones you want to look at. Now, switching things over to smart displays. Smart displays, they're relatively new. They just came out in the last couple of years, obviously, and they're very useful. So the first recommendation here I'm going to talk about is the Lenovo Smart Display. Now, this guy here, the Lenovo Smart Display, there's different sizes. There's a 7-inch, there's an 8-inch, 10-inch. There's a variety of different ones. It has a great value for the price, especially the 7-inch. The 7-inch is the latest model. The 8-inch and 10-inch are, I want to say, a little bit over a year old at this point. But the unique thing about Lenovo's smart displays is that you have also front-facing cameras, so you can make those video calls. And I personally like the size of the Lenovo Smart Display 7 because it's something you can put on your bedside. It doesn't take up a lot of space. You have the full functionality of a smart display. So yes, play music. You can watch videos to an extent, but there's a little bit more interaction there with a smart display than the smart speaker. The next one I want to talk about here is going to be a little bigger, beefier size one. It's going to be with Amazon. It is the 2nd generation Amazon Echo Show. So it is a beast. It's big, obviously. It's not something you're going to put next to your nightstand or your bedside because it's going to occupy a lot of space. But it is a full-fledged smart display. You have all the functionality of Alexa. You can access your smart control. So instead of telling Alexa to turn on the lights, you could use the display. You'll see all your lights on there. You can pick and choose which lights you want to turn on, turn off, or adjust the brightness. And it has incredible audio quality. Surprisingly, for a smart display, this has an impressive audio performance. And you can watch your Amazon Prime shows because it does work with the Amazon ecosystem. And the one thing to note here, Greg, is that for a smart home, it actually acts as a Zigbee hub. So if you have other Zigbee connected smart home gadgets at home, let's say like a door sensor or a water sensor, you don't need to use the respective hub because this can actually act as that. So it's an all-in-one thing. It's priced at $230. It's up there. Like I said, smart displays are going to cost you more, but you have more functionality. And I want to save the last one here for something special because I reviewed this back in the fall. And I think it is the definitive smart display. It really shows you the innovation in smart displays, especially in the last year. And that is the Google Nest Hub Max. Now, this isn't as beefy as the Echo Show, but it has a lot more features. And I think this is what I call a convergence product. So obviously with the smart display, it also acts as a fantastic photo frame. And that's because Google uses this new technology, the ambient EQ technology, which adjusts the color temperature, the brightness, the contrast of the display. So it looks just like a realistic photo frame. Another thing here is that you could personalize content because, yes, there is a camera on here. And what that camera does is that it detects people. So if you have multiple people in the household, when you glance at the smart display, it'll know who it is and it'll basically personalize the content. It'll tell you, hey, you have an appointment coming up at 6 o'clock, John. If you have someone else in the home, they'll get their own personalized content, which is great. And the last thing I want to note is that with that camera, obviously you could make video calls on there. But the unique thing about this particular one, it's actually the only one that does this, is that it acts as a security camera. So essentially, it is a Nest Cam. So you could use it as a security camera. When you're away, it'll detect for any motion. So if there's someone there at home that's not supposed to be, it'll tell you. You get a notification. You could use the Nest Cam app, and it acts basically like your traditional security camera at home. So you get all that smart display, smart speaker, and a smart camera all in one.